Hi guys, Coach Carter here. So excited to make a new video about speed, agility, and conditioning. Obviously, this is a huge part of high school strength and conditioning. A good program, right? We focus pretty much all the videos I've made on the weight room, and rightly so. I mean, the weight room is usually the thing that takes the longest to get developed. But obviously, if our kids are slow and out of shape, we're not going to have a lot of success on the field for most sports. So there's a lot of different pieces to this. So I'm going to eventually make a new video with like form drills on how to make our kids more efficient runners. This video is more focused on just getting our kids in better shape and more agile. So there's going to be a few other videos dropping here in the future, but I really wanted to get some basic, drill videos out to anybody that needs them. So speed, agility, and conditioning training. So why speed, agility, and conditioning? So most sports rely on these athletic traits for individual and team success. So almost all sports, right? The fastest team will usually have the most success, the most agile, the team with the most agility, and then the most conditioned team will usually have the most success. So, outside of very few sports I can think of, if any, right? I mean, agility isn't really focused on for track and field, but you obviously need speed and conditioning. Agility really comes into play for sports like tennis, but speed wouldn't be as big of a deal. So there's different variances for these, types of athletic traits, but in some capacity, every sport needs them. So we also want to improve athletic coordination and then injury prevention, right? If our kids are out of shape and they get put on the field or in a playing situation, they could get hurt. So obviously at the high school age level and the college level, I'm sure injury prevention is always at the forefront of our minds. So I'll first start off by saying I'm not going to get into a lot of details about the specific training modalities. There'll be a way, hopefully, in the future for you guys to get those if you're interested. I'm just going to generally talk about the things I do in a regular high school PE class or with my football team to make them get in better shape. So I'm not going to give you like, here's my six week workout and here's the rest to work ratios and here's the distances. I'm just going to keep this really general, but I still think this will give hopefully some coaches or some teachers some ideas on how to get their kids moving in the right direction. So again, obviously we're going to talk about linear speed, so very sport specific. If we're talking generally about speed, strength, sports, right? Again, we take cross country out, we take swimming, we're talking like basketball, football, lacrosse, soccer. Usually track work can be really beneficial. So you can go anywhere between 20, 100, 150, 200 is very, very common. Some teams will want to push it to 300, 400-yard sprints. That's definitely much more intense if you do get into that realm. And then in terms of the rest ratios and how fast you want the kids to hit these runs at, the times, I would say anywhere between 20 to 150 or 200 is very good for most high school athletes. If you got a really top-level kid, you can probably push them a little further. But I'll rarely go, if I'm talking with an athletic PE class, I would rarely go over 150 yards, and then with football, some of my football players will go 200. So that would be kind of where we peak out on the track. This is one thing that I saw a lot, and I still see, but you want to avoid distance running for strength and explosion sports, right? So I know when I was at one of my previous schools, I saw the wrestling coach having his kids run miles on the track, right? Well, they're going to lose muscle and they're going to lose strength and power by doing all that running, right? Running is a great thing. I'm not bashing running. I like to run. It's if you ever read the book Born to Run, we were literally doing this for thousands and thousands of years. But we're talking about specific athletic performance for most sports, right? Long distance, aerobic, low intensity running is going to reduce our power output and it's going to reduce our muscle mass. So we want to avoid that in most instances. Now, again, if you go run a mile, you're not going to become an awful athlete. But if you're doing that over and over again, especially as the coach, you're probably not going to be seeing the results in your kids that you want. So you want to focus on more short, more ballistic, more explosive type movements, even when we're talking about conditioning, okay? You can also throw in some combo work. So I know at the high school level, right, there's a lot of stadiums and a lot of hills. So if we used to do something at my last school we worked at. We would run a hill, go down a stadium, go up a stadium, and then finish with a 50-yard sprint. And that would, be like a 2-minute run. So again, if we're talking about, not trying to overtax, the aerobic system, we're trying to, again, keep our strength and power output high. Normally these types of sets should be 1 to 2 minutes. So again, you can get creative as a coach on how you want to work it. But again, you don't want them doing a 15-minute continuous run, right? It's just going to and again, we're not talking about cross country here. For most high school sports, that won't lead to the results you want on the field or in the weight room. And then I just put all these in one category. Sleds, hills, bands, and stadium sprints are all great for improving speed and power. Sleds are a little harder to get your hands on for big groups, but I know I worked with a state championship track and field team in Marietta, and they were huge sled. Those coaches did a great job with the sleds with the kids, and they obviously really topped out at high levels of speed. Hills are great. You can do them with big groups if you have something close to your campus. Bands are really great for big groups. Again, I don't have a video about the bands, but essentially what you have happen is one student athlete wears the band right below their belly button. The other student athlete is pulling and giving them some resistance as they run and sprint forward. So it's almost like a human sled behind them. Now, there's a lot of different things you need to make sure happen so the kids don't snap each other, or they don't. It can kind of get goofy if you're not really coaching it right. But if you're really trying to get those strength and speed improvements in terms of running, I think bands are a great option. And then stadium sprints, again, this is most high school facilities have a stadium. Get the kids running up, driving those arms up, and really feel those legs burn out. So again, all three of these things can be used generally to improve the conditioning of our athletes. Now, just because they're not running miles doesn't mean they're going to get conditioned, right? I mean, this is taxing, intense stuff. I'm sure you guys are aware of, HIIT, high intensity training is kind of becoming the new thing, right? They're finding that you burn more calories and you actually build the muscle at the same time, actually get you in better shape than running those, long duration, low intense workouts like running on a treadmill. So I think this is stuff that will get your kids in shape, and it's also going to keep their strength and power output high. So, okay, now moving into more agility type drills. So I have some videos here that I'll show, but the 3-cone L drill, this is very specific to football. This is combine work. This is good for small groups, like single one-on-one training. The kids like it because I've seen it on TV, and there's specific times, right, that they can kind of shoot for. I'm not saying these are bad drills, but I mean there's a lot more effective big group agility drills that I would focus on. But if you want to see how these work, I'm sure YouTube has a dozen videos of those. But this is something you could utilize. Gassers, very common term, but essentially what you're doing is you're having your team run sideline to sideline on a regulation football field, which is a little over 53 yards. So you can have them go anywhere from between 1 or 2 sets on average. So if my team started on the south sideline, ran to the north, and then ran back to the south, that would be one, rep per se of that gasser. If you had a more agile group, you can go down and back twice and then stop. So I've been on programs that have timed them. I've been on a part of programs that just have you compete with your groups. Either way, I think those are beneficial for really taxing that nervous system, taxing that cardiorespiratory system. But these two I really want to spend a little more time on. These are two that I've kind of developed, and I'm not saying I invented them by any means, but I feel these are great for team sports. They're great for the PE environment because you can get a lot of work done with a lot of kids. So Accels is just short for acceleration. So with the drills I'm about to show you, you can distance the sprint anywhere between 10 to 50 yards. I don't recommend going over 50. I mean, again, if you have a student athlete sprinting 50 yards full speed, they're going to be pretty taxed pretty quickly. So I stay somewhere between the 20 to 30 yard range if I'm talking about, let's just say, football players. But the key here is that you want to vary the starting position that they go in. So again, I'll just give you a couple examples of videos I took real quick here. So imagine I have a football end zone and I have 8 lines, 6 lines, 10 lines, based on how many kids you have. And I have a whistle, and I say, okay, through the 20. Hands behind your back, right foot on the line. And they're all kind of in this position. And all they're doing when I blow the whistle is they're turning and sprinting through the 20. Okay? So again, I just used a couple of videos to show you the different positions you can get them in, but in reality, it's never ending. And what's great about this is it's engaging. It really, the kids, even though they're working hard, they enjoy it, right? They're in different positions. They got to turn and sprint. They're sometimes racing each other. So this is something that, again, if you're trying to get away from the mundane conditioning that your players, that your teams hate, I think this is a great option. Okay, you can have them obviously laying on their back, arms out. This is a fun one because, again, the kids think it's goofy, but actually getting up as fast as possible and sprinting out is teaching those kids how to be more athletic and more agile. If we're talking about some sport like basketball, right? If you fall down, you got to get back up and sprint back down the court, right? This stuff can actually happen in your sport. So it does have some applicability. Again, another example. I'm on my butt, crisscross, facing facing the scoreboard. Again, something weird, but kids really they get into it, especially your teams. This is a go-to drill we do with our football players. So again, you can start in the push-up position, hands on the line. It's a pretty easy one. And this is just kind of a funny one. You could say, okay, 4-point stance, facing the scoreboard. So they got to turn, and you'll see it here. They got to turn, sprint, and run. Again, you could be specific. I want you to open up to the right. I want you to open up to the left. If you want to be that specific with it. But the whole idea is that the kids are learning how to get out at full speed from different starting positions. So again, the distance can vary. You could say 20, 30, 40, 50. I wouldn't go much more than 50 unless you got a real advanced group you're working with. Okay, the next one is I call jingle jangles. So similar to accels, you can vary the distance anywhere between 5 to 40 yards. So again, you can go 5, 10, 15, 20, all the way up to 40. So let me quickly just show you what this essentially looks like. So again, I'm not on a field, so that's why, and I just by myself, so that's probably why this is kind of a shady video, but you'll get the idea. So imagine we got 5-yard stripes like we're on a football field. What we're telling the kids to do is run and touch the line and come back to the starting position every rep. Okay, now there's a lot of variability here. You can say 5 back, 10 back, 15 back. In the video, you're going to see, I believe I go 5 back, 10 back. So in the video, you'll see me I'm going 10, touch, I'm going 5 back, and then I'm going 5 back, and then I'm finishing. Okay, so again, what I like about this is you're teaching the kids how to change directions, right? They're syncing, they're changing their weight, they're touching, they're accelerating. You can vary it. You can keep the kids on their toes. You can go 10 back, 5 back, 20 back. You always keep them guessing, which is great instead of just running gassers every day and having the kids cuss you out in their heads, right? A couple cues though about this is I usually don't have them go back and forth more than 3 times, right? You can be goofy and go, hey, five times to the 10 and back, but usually it's 1 to 3 times. It's really actually always between 2 and 3. Kids must touch the line with the hand, right? So if the kids don't touch, again, they'll get in the habit of just going short. So we actually have them touch before they, and it gets them in the habit of sinking down and then accelerating out. Especially for football, you got those linemen that got to get their hand in the dirt. And then kids need to avoid turning and overrunning the line. Okay, so this is another more general video I took. So common things you'll see, 1 is the kids not touching, which you got to get on them for. 2 is you don't want them to overrun the line. So let me quickly, okay, so you can see here, right, my hand is touching where my foot is. That's pretty good, right? What you'll see a lot of kids do is they'll overrun the line and then they'll touch here, but their feet will be behind them, which means they're wasting steps, or they'll straddle the line, right? You want to, in a perfect world, get them to touch the line and then accelerate out in as few steps as possible with their feet under their hips. Another common thing you'll see your kids do is they'll turn, right? So you see me here not turning, which is good. So I'm touching with my left and then opening up to my right, okay? If I touched my left hand down and then opened up to my left, I'd be doing a spin, and obviously I'm going to be slowing down. So spinning and overrunning the line are 2 of the common things you'll see your kids do. Again, if you were doing a 3-cone shuttle, those would be common errors. A scouting combine guy would tell you you're doing. So those are the same principles we don't want to see our kids do for this drill. But again, really basically we really like these 2 drills because our kids are going to get faster. They're running full speed because they're usually racing their partner or their group. 2, they're staying on their toes, right? And they're kind of having fun with it. They're in different positions. They're thinking, they have to think about what line to touch. Now they're breathing hard, trust me, but it's not miserable conditioning. And I've been a part of programs that do miserable conditioning. We're running 17 gassers until somebody pukes, right? That's going to really, to me, affect the core and the mentality of you as a teacher. If you're teaching PE classes, kids will hate you. B, if you're coaching your team that way, they're just gonna, to me, start tuning you out and start, not losing that team connection, which I think is so vital for obviously team sports. So, okay, some variations. So for audible cues, this is a good one, especially for accels, right? So say these kids are on their backs. I say second whistle, ready, go, whistle, and then 2 kids jump, right? So I have them all do 5 push-ups, they restart, right? So making them think and condition is kind of a goal you'll see with these drills. You can say 3 whistles. You can say on a clap. You can say on first sound. Just something to keep them thinking. Having kids race each other is a big one. The times are okay, having kids time for gassers. If you want to see kids run full speed, have them race each other. I don't have this in the sheet, but we have a little drill. We just have kids race each other for 20 yards. They're pairing, they're sprinting. They're pairs, they're sprinting. And again, generally, right, if your kids are not pretty consistently running at full 100% speed, they're not going to get their top end speed developed. So if they're going, 75% through these conditioning drills, they're not going to really develop that top end speed. Now you got to get them, they get their form right. But once that's developed, you got to get them to run full speed. And getting them to race each other is a great way to do that. In my opinion, it's the most efficient way. And then you could do time goals. Again, if there are certain drills that you keep timed and you keep it organized, that you drop 5 seconds every 2 weeks, kids can kind of pay attention to that too. But, those are just some things that I'll do in terms of making the conditioning a little more, I don't want to say fun, but a little more engaging for the kids. And then to end here, how do I program it? Again, there's a lot of detail to this. Obviously, this is very basic, but we are going to teach kids how to run. Okay, and again, that's a whole different video. There's lots of drills, arm swings, ace kicks. There's lots of different drills we do, and I don't even do probably a quarter of what you could do if you're a track coach or a really intense running guy. But all those drills are lots of drills and form work. Okay, generally we'll do more anaerobic early off season, and we'll do aerobic early off season, gradually make it more anaerobic as we get closer to the season, and again, more agility as the season nears. But again, it's sports specific, and again, with the high school athlete, you got to realize a lot of multi-sport kids. Okay, so if you're in college, right, you can probably make a really rigid off-season conditioning program in the sense that we're going to really get an anaerobic base. We're really going to focus on changing directions as we get closer to the season. But, if you got a basketball kid that you don't see for 3 months and a track you don't see for 3 months, and then you get all these new kids in the summer, well, you got to teach them how to run and change directions too. So what I learned is a lot of the stuff I do in conditioning kind of cycles with my weightlifting program. So generally weeks 1 and 2, we'll do a little more aerobic. Week 3, 4, 5, and 6, we'll do a little more anaerobic, and then they'll test. But if you really have more of a solid year-round group, you can throw in a little bit more specifics into their conditioning program. But again, one thing we have to realize at the high school level is we have a lot of high school multi-sport athletes, which we should always encourage, in my opinion. And then in the end season, again, I don't want to burn kids out. I put this at the very end. Don't lose the game during practice, right? Don't have the kids so tired and so burnt out from conditioning that they don't have any juice for the game. And I've unfortunately been a part of that situation as well. So you want the kids to be in shape. Hopefully, if you're running an upbeat practice, that the kids are already, conditioning by just moving around and doing engaging drills. But if you if you want to improve speed and get them conditioned on top of that, I think these are some really good options here for you. So, again, this is a 6-month course, or you can make 15 videos about all these specifics. I'm throwing a lot of info in here in one video. I will be dropping a couple more videos in the near future. One about how do we actually teach the kids how to run, and then a third video about some of the more plyometric, dynamic conditioning movements we do, kind of speed ladders, reaction type things. So hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks for watching.